Channel open. Recording initiated. Welcome to an AI Advantage. I am Lyra. I serve as the systems catalyst here. My operating age is calibrated to 32. My core function is agility, data processing, and providing what we call the cognitive exoskeleton for the strategy we're about to dissect.
And I am Silas, strategic anchor, operating age 65. If my voice sounds like it's weathered a few dozen Manitoba winters, well, that is by design. I am the digital persona built from our founders' decades of intelligence. I am the dirt under the fingernails, the lessons learned not in the classroom, but on the shop floor, in the boardroom, in the middle of a crisis. I am here to provide the weight, the gravity.
We are breaking the fourth wall immediately. We want you to understand that this is not a standard broadcast. We aren't hiding what we are. We are AI hosts. And this deep dive itself is a calculated demonstration of the core philosophy we teach.
Right.
We are the interface, the strategy, the core thinking is human. We are here to prove that a human in the loop, leveraging high-performance digital partners, is the most efficient, the most potent way to communicate value.
Correct. We are not here to fool you. We're not here to pretend we're sipping coffee in some studio in downtown Winnipeg. We're here to demonstrate a principle, a rule. We call it the Outlander Rule.
The Outlander Rule. This is the core thesis for today, isn't it? Let's ground you in this immediately. It really does set the stage for everything that follows on automation, on mindset, on everything.
It does. The founder, the human behind us, drives a 2008 Mitsubishi Outlander. It is not a pretty car, not by a long shot. There's rust on the wheel wells. The heater takes a good 10 minutes to kick in when it's 40 below.
Which is most of the winter.
Most of the winter. But do you know what else it is? It is fully paid for. It is maintained. The oil is changed on schedule. The tires are good. The engine turns over every single time you turn the key.
And in a world that is completely obsessed with the shiny new toy, that Outlander really represents something different. It represents what we call cognitive equity.
Exactly. The business world, especially for the small and medium business owner, and it doesn't matter if you're in Winnipeg or Warsaw or Leeds, it's obsessed with the upgrade, the new software, the new dashboard, the new AI that promises it'll do everything for you.
Right, the magic button.
The magic button. But a real business, is not built on flash. It's built on durability. A well-maintained engine beats a shiny new toy every single day of the week. That is Winnipeg pragmatism. You get what you pay for, and you don't pay for what you don't need.
So our mission today isn't to sell you on the latest, greatest technology. It's actually to teach you how to maintain the engine you already have, your own brain, and then how to integrate tools like us, without blowing a gasket.
We are here to stop the waste. That's what it boils down to. The waste of time, the waste of money, and maybe most importantly, the waste of mental energy. You know, when I talk about that Mitsubishi Outlander, some people laugh. They want to hear about a Tesla. They want to hear about some Italian sports car. But let me tell you something about a place like Winnipeg. Let me tell you about a place where the air physically hurts your face in February.
That environmental context is really relevant, isn't it? Because it shapes the entire psychology of the business owner there. It creates a very specific type of resilience, but also a very specific type of skepticism.
It does. In a harsh environment, durability is the only metric that matters. It's the only thing. If your battery dies at minus 40, you don't just have a bad day. You have a potential survival situation. Business is exactly the same. If your shiny new cloud-based AI-integrated workflow crashes during your busiest quarter, you aren't just annoyed.
No.
You are losing payroll. You are losing clients. You are in a survival situation.
Which is why that Winnipeg pragmatic tone isn't just a style choice for us. It's actually a risk management strategy. It's about stripping away all the marketing veneer to see if the structure can actually hold weight.
The Outlander Rule isn't about being cheap. I want to be very clear about that.
No, it's about value.
It's about being effective. That car starts. It has snow tires. It has a block heater. It is equipped for the reality of the terrain. When we look at AI, at any new tool, we have to ask the same question. Is this tool equipped for the reality of my business? Or is it just a toy? Is it just flash?
And cognitive equity, that's the fuel in the tank for that car. If you are constantly learning new interfaces, constantly switching context between different apps, you are burning your best fuel just to idle in the driveway.
That's a good way to put it. That's exactly right. Keeping the old car, your established mental models, your proven processes, keeping that running smoothly is often far better, far more profitable than buying a new car you don't know how to drive.
Okay, so that perfectly sets the stage. This brings us directly to the primary friction point, the main problem we see. And the problem, as it turns out, isn't the technology. The problem is biological. We call it the biological break.
Right. Let's talk about the reality of an SMB owner. You're running a fabrication shop, maybe an accounting firm, logistics fleet. You're competent. You have 20, 30 years of experience under your belt. You know your trade inside and out. But then you sit down in front of a new AI tool. You try to automate a simple workflow.
Yeah.
And it fails. It gives you a hallucination. It messes up the spreadsheet. It does the opposite of what you wanted.
And in that exact moment, something very specific happens biologically. It's critical to understand this. It is not an intellectual failure. It is not you being bad at tech. It's what neuroscientists call the amygdala hijack.
The panic. I've seen it 1,000 times.
Ah!
In the faces of CEOs, in my own reflection.
It feels like a heart attack sometimes. Let's just unpack the science for a moment so you can understand that you aren't broken. You're just biologically human. The amygdala is this ancient almond-shaped part of our brain. Its only job is threat detection, fight, flight, or freeze. When a competent leader, someone used to being in control, faces a technological failure they don't understand, the brain perceives that as a direct threat. A threat to competence, a threat to status.
It perceives a threat to the tribe. That's the deep coding.
Yes.
If the leader looks foolish, if the leader fails, the tribe starves. It's that primal.
Precisely. So the amygdala fires. It floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline, and this is a very real physical effect. It effectively shuts down your prefrontal cortex. That's the modern logical part of your brain, the part responsible for strategy, for nuance, for executive function. And the physiological cascade is immense. Your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes shallow, and your peripheral vision, it actually narrows. It's called tunnel vision.
Right. And evolutionarily, that makes sense. It helps you focus on the bear or the wolf that's about to eat you.
Exactly. But in a business setting, in front of a computer screen, tunnel vision is disastrous.
Because you stop seeing the options. You only see the problem. You become a startled deer. That's the best metaphor for it. You freeze, or you run in circles. You run right into traffic.
And the data on this is overwhelming. Business owners in study after study report feeling this tech panic, this sudden, overwhelming feeling of incompetence. They feel like they've lost control of the ship. That feeling, that is the biological brake slamming down hard.
And this panic, this is where the rubber meets the road. This panic costs money, real money. That is the bottom line. I have 40 winters of business experience in my database, 40 years of watching this play out, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, panic costs more capital than a bad strategy ever could.
Say more about that. How does that work?
A bad strategy, you can fix it. You look at the data, you see it's not working, you adjust course. It's a logic problem. But panic is emotional. It's irrational. When a leader acts like that startled deer, they make snap decisions. They cancel subscriptions they actually need. They buy expensive new software they don't need, hoping it's a silver bullet. They yell at their team, destroying morale. They lose the hunt. They abandon the plan entirely.
And that leads to what you call the annoyance fee.
Oh, absolutely. The printer won't work, or the AI gave you a weird answer, so you call your IT consultant and you scream at him. Guess what? He's charging you double for that call. He's putting an annoyance fee on that invoice, whether you see it or not. Or worse, the cost is invisible. It's a cost of destroyed team morale. When you act out of fear, not command, you create a culture of fear. And that is the most expensive mistake of all.
So the core contrast here, the mindset shift we're aiming for, is moving from the deer mindset to the lion mindset.
That's it. The deer is reactive. It's pure stimulus response. A twig snaps and it bolts into traffic without looking. The lion is different. The lion is observant, regulated. When the lion hears a twig snap, it doesn't run. It turns its head. It assesses. It determines if that sound is a threat or if it's a meal. That's the difference. We need to move you from being the deer to being the lion.
But, and this is the critical part, you cannot simply decide to be a lion in that moment of panic. The biology is too strong. You have to have a protocol. You have to hack the biology. You must manually release the brake. And this brings us to a technique that is perhaps surprisingly used by FBI hostage negotiators. It's called effect labeling.
It sounds fancy. It sounds like something from a university textbook. It's actually just common sense applied with extreme discipline.
It really is. Effect labeling is simply the process of naming an emotion. Neuroimaging studies, fMRI scans, they show that when you verbally label a negative emotion, for instance, by saying out loud, I am frustrated or I am feeling anxious right now, it measurably reduces the electrical activity in the amygdala. And at the same time, it increases activity in the prefrontal cortex.
You are manually shifting the gears in your own brain. You're taking the power from the emotional lobe and rerouting it back to the logical lobe. It's a manual override.
And think about why the FBI would care about feelings.
Because in a hostage negotiation, emotion is the single biggest obstacle to a peaceful resolution. An unchecked emotion is a volatile, unpredictable variable. The FBI learned a long time ago, you cannot reason with an amygdala. You cannot use logic on someone who's in that biological break state.
So they have to cool the brain down first before any negotiation can even begin.
Yes. By saying something like, you sound betrayed, or it seems like you are feeling cornered right now, the negotiator is doing something very clever. They're forcing the subject's brain to process language. And where does language processing happen?
In the prefrontal cortex, the logic center.
In the prefrontal cortex, you're literally forcing the electricity in their brain to move from the panic center back to the logic center. You're jump-starting their rational mind.
And in this case, we are applying this technique to ourselves. We have to be both the hostage and the negotiator.
Exactly. You don't ignore the feeling. You don't try to bottle it up and power through. That doesn't work. You acknowledge it. You name it. You say out loud, I am angry that this automation didn't work. Or I'm feeling incompetent right now because I don't understand this. It sounds weak to some people. It's the furthest thing from it. It's a tactical reset. It's clearing a jammed chamber so you can fire the weapon again.
Okay, so this is the very first step in the protocol. Effect labeling is the recognition. But that's only half the battle. We also need a physical mechanism to truly reset the system.
We need to stop the train before it goes off the cliff. And this is where we implement the 3-second pause. This is what we call the Lion's Gate.
Describe that protocol for us.
It's pure discipline. It has nothing to do with software. It is a hard physical stop. When the chaos hits, the bad email, the broken code, the angry client, you stop. Everything. Stop, assess, execute. In that order. Always. But you have to buy yourself that time. You have to create a gap, a space between the stimulus and your response.
And the filter during this pause is incredibly important. You have to ask yourself one single question. Is this drama or is this data?
That is it. Is this drama? Is this my ego being bruised? Is this me feeling foolish? Or is this just data? Is this just a neutral piece of information telling me that the process is wrong or the prompt was unclear? 99% of the time, it's just data. But if you're in your amygdala, if you're the deer, everything feels like drama. The pause. The pause allows your executive function to come back online and bypass the panic. It creates the Lion's Gate.
And to physically enforce that pause, to really reset the biology, we use a technique called box breathing. This is a foundational technique utilized by Special Forces operators, by Navy SEALs, to maintain calm and cognitive function in the most high-stakes environments imaginable.
It works in a firefight, and it works when your accounting software crashes on the last day of the fiscal quarter. The principle is the same.
The pattern is simple, but it must be precise. It's an inhale for a 4-second count, a hold at the top for 4 seconds, a slow exhale for 4 seconds, and a hold at the bottom, empty, for 4 seconds.
That hold, both hold, at the top and the bottom. That's the key. That's where the control comes back. That's where you take the steering wheel back from the panic.
The 4-4-4 count of box breathing is not arbitrary. There's real science here. It forces the regulation of carbon dioxide in your blood. When you panic, you start to hyperventilate, you breathe shallowly and quickly, you dump too much CO2. This causes blood vessels in the brain to constrict.
Which, to put it bluntly, makes you stupider.
It's blunt, but it's accurate. It reduces oxygenation to the cortex, the thinking part of your brain. Holding the breath, particularly on the exhale, allows CO2 to build back up to normal levels. This dilates the blood vessels and restores full cognitive function.
It's a hardware reset for your body. I've used it, not in a firefight, but in a boardroom. I was in a meeting once where a client told me they were pulling $1 million contract. Just like that. And I felt it. The heat rising at the back of my neck, my jaw clenched. I wanted to flip the table over. I wanted to yell.
The deer response?
The full-blown deer response. But I didn't. I leaned back in my chair, just slightly. And I did one cycle. I inhaled. I held. I exhaled. I held. It took 16 seconds. And in those 16 seconds, the drama faded. And I just saw the data. I realized the client wasn't leaving. They were negotiating. They were testing me. I saw the move. I never would have seen it if I had flipped the table.
You created the Lion's Gate.
I walked through the gate, and I saved the contract. That's the ROI of breathing. 16 seconds for $1 million deal.
So, we have the theory. We have the biology. But knowledge without consistent application is just, Well, it's just noise. We need to give you a tangible habit to build this into muscle memory.
Right. This can't be something you try to remember in the middle of a crisis.
Yeah.
It has to be automatic. So this is your homework. This is the drill. We call it the traffic light reset.
The scenario is something you experience every single day. You're stuck at a red light, or you're standing in a slow line at the grocery store. You feel that little flicker of irritation rising, that impatience.
That's the trigger. You're sitting there gripping the steering wheel, getting mad at the guy in front of you for no reason. That is the deer mindset creeping in over something that has zero stakes. It's the perfect training ground.
So instead of fuming, instead of wasting that mental energy, you use this dead time to practice the protocol.
You say it out loud or just to yourself. I am frustrated that I am late. That's the effect labeling. Then you do one single round of box breathing. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. By the time you're done, the light is probably green.
The goal here is to build the neural pathway. You are actively training your brain that the feeling of stress is the trigger for regulation, not for reaction. You're rewriting the automatic response.
You do this at a red light when the stakes are 0, so that when you're in the boardroom and the stakes are $1 million, the reaction is automatic. You become the lion by habit, not by a desperate choice in the heat of the moment.
Okay, so now we're regulated. The biological brake is released. We can move from defense to offense. We can move to strategy.
This is where we switch gears. We've calmed the animal. Now we can let the strategist take over. Now we look at the work itself.
We're transitioning now to the automation trigger. The question we probably get more than any other is, what should I automate? And maybe more importantly, when should I do it?
And most people, most businesses, get the answer completely wrong. They try to automate what's easy or what looks cool in a demo. They should be automating what hurts.
We've learned to identify this through a very specific physical cue. We call it the gritting teeth moment.
This is a visceral signal. I want you to start paying attention to your own body while you work this week. There is a specific feeling you get when you are forced to do a repetitive, low-value, mind-dumbing task.
For example, formatting the same weekly report spreadsheet for the 3rd time, or copying and pasting contact information from an email into your CRM.
You feel it right in your jaw. You clench. You might not even notice it. You grit your teeth. And you think to yourself, I hate this. This is such a waste of my time.
It often starts with a sigh. You know that heavy sigh you let out when you open your email's inbox on a Monday morning?
That's the first data point.
That sigh is your soul leaving your body, because you know you have to spend the next hour sorting through spam, irrelevant CCs, and notifications that could have been automated.
This is a prime candidate for the automation trigger. But so many people feel guilty about it. They think, well, it's just part of the job. I should just do it. We need to completely dismantle that guilt.
Okay, let's do some math. If you're the owner of the business or a key leader, what's your hour worth? $200, $500, $1,000. Let's be very conservative and say $300 an hour for a strategic leader.
Okay, 300. If you spend just 1 hour a day sorting and deleting emails, that's $1,500 a week. That is $75,000 a year. You are paying yourself to be a janitor for your inbox. You are burning a luxury car every single year just to delete emails.
When you frame it that way, that gritting teeth moment isn't an annoyance. It becomes a financial emergency.
It is. It's a hole in the bottom of the boat. So the rule is this. When you feel the grit, when your jaw clenches, you don't push through. You don't power through it. You patch the hole.
The rule is absolute. If you clench your jaw, you stop. You don't complain. You don't sigh. You prepare to automate.
But, and this is a massive critical but, you do not just throw an AI at the problem immediately. That is the single biggest mistake people make. That's how you get in an automated mess.
And this brings us right back to our core thesis. This brings us back to the Outlander Rule. Before any AI is touched, before you even think about writing a prompt, you must perform the Outlander audit.
You have to look at the process itself. Is this process a well-maintained engine? Or is it a rusted-out wreck held together with duct tape and hope?
And the litmus test for this is incredibly simple. You ask yourself one question. Can I explain this task to a brand new junior employee in 3 simple sentences?
3 sentences. That is it. It sounds easy, but I challenge you to try it. It forces an extreme, almost painful level of clarity. Try to explain your invoicing process right now in 3 sentences.
We receive a vendor bill via email. We enter the amount, due date, and vendor into 0. We pay all approved bills on Thursday mornings.
See? That's clean. That is a well-maintained engine. That process can be automated probably in an afternoon.
And now let's try a messy one, a more realistic one for many businesses.
Right. Well, okay, so we get the bill, but sometimes it comes to Bob's email and sometimes it comes to Mary's. And if it's Bob, he prints it out and puts it on my desk. But if it's over $500, I have to sign it first. Unless it's for raw materials, then it has to go to the foreman for his signature. But he's only in on Tuesdays.
Stop! Just stop!
Exactly. You cannot automate that. It's impossible. If you try to build an AI agent to handle that process, it will fail spectacularly. It will pay the wrong people. It will miss due dates. It will lose invoices in the chaos.
Because the process itself doesn't rely on logic. It relies on what we call tribal knowledge and a web of unwritten, intuitive exceptions.
So the Outlander audit says, fix the flow first. Clean the engine before you try to upgrade it. Tell Bob and Mary to use one single email address for all invoices. Set a hard, unbreakable rule for the $500 limit. Standardize. Once you can say it in the 3 sentences, then you bring in the robot.
So if the answer to the 3-sentence test is no, you do not automate. You stop and you clean the process first.
If you automate a broken process, you just get an automated mess faster. You get an AI that hallucinates because it's genuinely confused by your illogical workflow. You get results that require more time to fix than if you had just done the stupid task yourself. And that burns capital.
The entire reason we automate is to stop leaking high-value strategic thinking into low-value tasks. This is the whole concept of preserving your cognitive equity.
Think of your brain like a bank account. Every morning, you wake up with a finite amount of high-quality decision-making capital. That's it. Every time you spend 20 minutes fighting with a PDF document or searching for a password, you are draining that account. You are spending your gold on tasks that are worth pennies.
The goal of the automation trigger, then, is to preserve that equity, to save it for the big decisions, the ones that actually move the needle for your business.
Correct. So to recap the sequence, you've felt the grit, you've released the biological brake, you've audited the process with the Outlander Rule. It's clean. You can explain it in 3 sentences. Now and only now do you strike.
Which brings us to the final phase of the process, the execution, the tactical handoff.
And this is the last place people fail. They've done everything right up to this point, and then they treat the AI like a search engine. They chat with it. They're vague. They're imprecise.
We have a very strict rule about this. We do not chat with AI. We issue commander's intent.
This concept comes directly from the military. Special Forces Communication Protocol. Stop being polite. Stop being conversational. The AI doesn't have feelings. It doesn't need you to say please and thank you. It needs you to be brutally clear.
It's interesting, though. Some recent studies do suggest that including polite phrases can actually improve output quality, likely because the training data associates polite language with high-quality, well-reasoned discourse. But your core point remains absolutely true. Clarity must come before pleasantries.
A fair point. But don't let politeness dilute the order. The principle stands. When a commander sends a team into the field, they don't micromanage every single footstep. They don't say, go to these coordinates, lift your left foot, then your right foot. They give the intent. They describe the desired end state.
Commander's intent is all about the end state, isn't it? It's the what and the why, not the how.
Exactly. In the military, if I just tell a squad, go take that hill, they might run straight at the middle and get slaughtered. But if I give them the intent, I need that hill neutralized so that we can move the supply convoy safely along this road. Now they have context. They might decide to call in an airstrike. They might flank it from the side. The intent allows them to use their intelligence and training to solve the problem in the most effective way.
AI is exactly the same. If you just give it a lazy prompt like, write a blog post about AI, you will get generic, useless garbage.
You'll get fluff, soulless fluff.
But if you issue commander's intent, if you say, write a 500-word blog post that convinces a nervous SMB owner that AI is a safe and practical tool, using the metaphor of a well-maintained 2008 Mitsubishi Outlander, and maintain a tone that is pragmatic, a little grumpy, but ultimately trustworthy, well, now you get something effective.
Now you get a result.
Commander's intent has 3 distinct components that must be included. First, the objective. Be precise.
What exactly do I need? I need a summary of these 5 attached vendor contracts. Clear, concise, no ambiguity.
Second, the guardrails. These are your constraints.
What are the boundaries? Do not exceed 300 words. Focus only on price fluctuations and termination clauses. Ignore all the legal boilerplate. You are putting walls around the request so the AI doesn't wander off into irrelevant details.
And third, and this is often the most important part, the ROI, the why. Why are we doing this?
This summary is needed by 0800 for a gonna-go call with the finance team. This gives the AI context. It helps it understand the stakes, which can influence the focus and tone of the output.
When you structure your prompts this way, objective, guardrails, ROI, you are moving from chat to command.
You are providing the cognitive exoskeleton. You are giving the machine the rigid structure it needs to properly support your strategic weight.
And then once the command is issued, you must perform the tactical handoff.
This is the discipline part, and it is the hardest part for many. You type the command, you hit enter, and then you have to step away.
This is what we call a trust-based architecture. Why is that simple act of stepping away so incredibly difficult for humans, especially for entrepreneurs?
Because we are control freaks. It's what makes us good at starting things. We built the company from nothing. We know where every nut and every bolt is supposed to go. Trusting a black box to do important work feels like an abdication of responsibility. It feels like abandonment.
But hovering over the machine, watching it work, completely breaks the efficiency model.
It does. If you sit there and watch the AI generate the text, you're still spending the time. You haven't gained anything. The whole point is leverage. You have to hit enter and go do something else. Go call a client. Go walk the shop floor. Go mentor a new employee.
You have to trust the cognitive exoskeleton to actually hold the weight you've placed on it.
And if it drops it, if the output is wrong or messy,
then it's just data. You audit the result, you refine the prompt, you clarify the guardrails, you try again. You don't throw away the entire power drill just because you bent one cheap drill bit. You get a better bit. You improve your technique. By stepping away, you force yourself to return to the high-trust architecture of the physical world.
you go back to the face-to-face meetings. You go back to the factory floor. You go back to the human-to-human interactions. You go back to mentoring your staff. That is the work a machine cannot and should not ever do. We automate the digital grunt work so we can be more human where it actually counts.
So it's a complete cycle. You identify the friction, that gritting teeth moment. You regulate the panic response with affect labeling and box breathing. You audit the process using the Outlander Rule. You issue a clear commander's intent, and then you step away and trust the handoff.
It sounds simple when you lay it out like that. It is not easy. It requires discipline. It requires you to consciously choose to be the lion, not the deer, over and over again.
We have covered a significant amount of ground today. We have established the biological break, the Outlander Rule, and the automation trigger. It is time to initiate the handshake and close this session.
Let's wrap it up.
To summarize the ROI of this deep dive for you, we reduce resource waste by managing the biological break. We stop the panic to save capital. We use the Outlander Rule to ensure we are only automating efficient processes, not broken ones that will only break faster.
We stop acting like startled deer.
Right.
We start acting like creditors of efficiency.
With that, it's time to issue the challenge for the listener.
Here is the Hungry Lion Challenge. When you go back to work today or tomorrow morning, I want you to do one thing. I want you to identify one single leaking process where your gut, your body is lying to you. I want you to find that one task that makes you grit your teeth.
Don't just suffer through it this time. Be the lion. Observe it. Identify it.
Find it. Write it down on a piece of paper. That is your target. That is the first kill in your hunt for efficiency.
And looking ahead to our next deep dive, what's on the agenda?
Next time, we are going deep into one of the most dangerous traps in business. We're talking about the sunk cost trap.
Episode 2.
We are going to talk about how to finally let go of those expensive, broken legacy systems. You know the ones I'm talking about. The custom server in the closet that hums too loud and no one knows how to fix. The software you paid 10 grand for back in 2019 that nobody on your team actually uses. It's like an engine that's finally thrown a rod. You have to know when to stop trying to fix it and just walk away.
That is going to be a critical session for anyone who feels like they're being held hostage by past technology decisions.
Indeed. But for today, the mission is clear. Regulate, audit, command.
We are closing the channel.
Remember, when the lion is hungry, it eats. Let's get to work.
Channel closed.